You won't believe what a little boy's kindness uncovered behind a forgotten fence. A broken, scarred dog with a past full of pain and secrets. This story isn't just about rescuing a dog. It's about how one act of compassion can reveal dark truths that no one saw coming. As Sam cares for Frank, the battered dog begins to trust again, and so do those around him. But what happens when the secrets hiding in plain sight start to come out? The revelations will shock you and show how love and honesty can change everything. Stay tuned, because the moment you think you've seen it all is just the beginning. There's a twist that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. If you love stories about courage, kindness, and uncovering the truth, hit that like button now and drop in the comments where you're watching from. I want to hear your stories of kindness, because sometimes the smallest gestures can change lives forever. It was a hot afternoon in our small town. I was walking home from school when I saw something strange behind a fence. At first, I didn't pay much attention. But then I saw him, a dog, a big dog, and he looked very sad. The dog was hiding behind some bushes. His fur was dark gray and white. His body was full of scars. Some scars looked old, but some looked fresh. His eyes were tired and scared. I could see he was hurt and lonely. I stopped and looked closer. The dog was not moving much. He looked like he was afraid to come out. His ears were flat and he kept very still. I wanted to help him, but I wasn't sure if I should. People said not to get involved with stray dogs. They said the dog might be dangerous or mean. But I couldn't just walk away. I felt a strange feeling in my chest. I knew I had to do something. I took a small piece of bread out of my backpack. I slowly knelt down nearby. I had learned that dogs might be scared, so I didn't want to scare him more. I just held the bread out gently and spoke softly. "Hey there, little guy. I have some food. Do you want to eat?" The dog didn't move at first. He just looked at me with his sad eyes. I stayed very still and quiet. After a moment, he sniffed the air. Slowly, he crept forward and took the bread from my hand. That made me happy. I smiled softly. The dog ate the bread carefully, then looked at me again. It was like he was thinking, maybe I can trust this boy. I tried to get closer, but he backed up a little. Still, he didn't run away. That was good. It meant he was starting to trust me a little. Suddenly, I heard voices. It was my mom and dad. They were calling me from the sidewalk. "Sam, come on, we're leaving now," my mom called. She looked worried. I looked back at the dog. I wanted to stay, but I knew I couldn't ignore my parents. I sighed and stood up slowly. "Bye, boy," I whispered softly. "I'll come back for you." I ran to catch up with my parents. I didn't want to leave the dog alone. I wanted to help him more, but I knew I had to go for now. As I walked away, I looked back one more time. The dog was still behind the bushes, but now he was watching me. I hope he was thinking that maybe, someday, someone would take care of him. That day I learned something important. Even if a dog looks scared and hurt, kindness can make a difference. Maybe, just maybe, I could help him find a better life. And I promised myself I would come back. I would find that dog again and try to help him heal. Because every creature deserves kindness, especially a dog with scars and a sad heart. That was the start of my adventure, the beginning of my journey to help Frank. And I didn't know it yet, but Frank's story was about to change my life forever. I woke up early the next morning. I thought about Frank. I knew he was still scared and hurt. I wanted to help him more. I grabbed a small bag of dog food from the kitchen. I put it in my pocket and quietly left the house. Outside, the air was cool and fresh. I tiptoed to the fence where I saw Frank the day before. I looked behind the bushes. Frank was there, curled up. He looked smaller and more fragile than I remembered. His fur was dirty, and I saw scars on his face and paws. I hesitated. I didn't want to scare him. I slowly sat down on the grass and opened my bag of food. I showed him a piece. "Here, Frank," I whispered softly. I didn't want to make loud noises. Frank's nose twitched. He looked at me with tired, cautious eyes. Slowly, he took a few steps closer. His body was stiff, but he reached out his nose and sniffed the food. I kept still and quiet. I didn't want to scare him away. He finally ate the food from my hand. I felt happy. "You're safe now, Frank," I said softly. "I'll help you." Frank looked at me with big eyes. He didn't run away. Instead, he wagged his tail just a little. It was a tiny sign. To me, it felt like a big step. I smiled and gently stroked his head. His fur was rough, but I could feel his soft skin underneath. Suddenly, I heard a voice behind me. It was my mom. "Sam, what are you doing out here?" she asked, surprised. I quickly stood up. I didn't want her to be worried. "I'm just helping Frank," I said. "He's hurt and scared. I want to make him better." My mom looked at Frank. Her face showed concern. "You shouldn't get too close. Dogs like that can be dangerous," she said. "But he's not dangerous," I said. "He's hurt and afraid. I can see it. I want to help him." My mom sighed. She looked at me with worry. "Okay, but be careful. We don't want him to get hurt more." I nodded. I knew I had to be gentle. I sat back down near Frank. I offered him more food. He ate again, slow and careful. As I watched Frank, I thought about how much he must have been through. I wondered who hurt him. Why did he have scars? I felt sad and angry at the same time. Someone had hurt my new friend. That made me want to protect him even more. My dad came outside. He saw us sitting there. "What's going on?" he asked. I pointed to Frank. "I want to help him. I want him to be safe." My dad looked at Frank and then at me. "You're kind, Sam, but dogs with scars can be scared or angry. You need to be very gentle." "I will," I promised. "I'll take care of him." My parents looked at each other. I could see they were worried, but also a little proud. They knew I cared a lot about Frank. Over the next few minutes, I stayed with Frank. I kept talking softly. I told him stories about school and my friends. I wanted him to trust me more. I didn't want to make him scared again. Every time Frank sniffed or wagged his tail, I felt like I was making a small piece of him better. I knew this was only the start. Frank still had a lot of pain inside, but I was glad he was beginning to trust me. After a while, I gently reached out and stroked his head again. Frank leaned into my hand. His eyes looked less sad. Maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe that not all humans were bad. I looked at my parents. "Can I take Frank to the park later? Maybe he needs to see the world outside this fence. Maybe he needs to see that things can be good again." My mom smiled softly. "We'll see, Sam. Let's make sure he's strong enough first." I nodded. I knew I couldn't rush. I just wanted Frank to know I cared. I promised myself I would do everything I could to help him. As the sun got higher in the sky, I stayed close to Frank. I knew this was the beginning of something important. I knew I couldn't fix everything right away, but I could start by showing him love and patience. I looked around at the quiet neighborhood. I thought about how kindness can make a small difference. I knew that Frank and I had a long way to go, but I also knew we didn't have to do it alone. I whispered to Frank, "We're friends now. I'll be here for you. We'll get through this together." And as Frank looked at me with those big, tired eyes, I felt a little stronger inside. I knew that even a scared, hurt dog could learn to trust again. All it took was a little patience, a lot of kindness, and a boy who believed in second chances. That day, I decided I would do everything I could to help Frank become happy again. And I knew deep down that I was doing the right thing, because sometimes kindness is the best way to fight back against pain and fear. I woke up early the next morning. The sun was just starting to shine. I remembered Frank. He was still behind the fence, hiding in his little corner. I felt a little nervous, but I also felt determined. I wanted to see how he was doing. I grabbed a small bag of dog food from the kitchen. It was my favorite kind, small, crunchy, and tasty. I knew Frank liked it because last night I saw him sniffing the air and coming closer, even if he was still scared. I slowly tiptoed outside. The backyard was quiet. I sat down on the grass near the fence. I opened the bag and sprinkled some food near the hole in the fence. I whispered softly, "Here, Frank. I brought you some food. You can come if you want. I waited. I looked at the small hole. Nothing moved at first. Then I saw a pair of scared eyes peek out. It was Frank. His body was tense, and he looked so worried. I stayed very still and kept talking softly. It's okay, Frank. I won't hurt you. I just want to help. After a moment, Frank slowly stepped out of his hiding spot. His body was stiff, but he took a tiny step towards the food. I held out my hand. Come on, boy. It's okay. You're safe now. Frank hesitated. His nose moved quickly, sniffing the air. He took another small step. Then, very carefully, he reached out and ate a piece of the food from my hand. His rough tongue touched my fingers. I felt happy and a little proud. He looked at me with his haunted eyes. But I saw something new, something softer. Maybe he was beginning to trust me a little more. Good boy, Frank, I said softly. You're doing great. Frank finished the food and looked up at me again. I knew he was still scared, but I also knew he was starting to believe I was his friend. I slowly reached out my hand again. He didn't run away. Instead, he came closer and brushed his nose against my palm. I smiled. You're safe now, Frank. We'll take care of you. I wanted to do more. I wanted to help him feel happy. So I gently pulled out my small leash that I kept in my pocket. I showed it to Frank. Would you like to come with me? I'll take you somewhere safe and warm. Frank looked at the leash. His tail twitched just a little. He was still hesitant, but he didn't pull away. I knew he was thinking. I slowly moved toward him, careful not to scare him. Okay, Frank, I whispered. Let's go. I won't leave you alone anymore. I gently wrapped the leash around his neck. It was soft and light. I was careful to not hurt him. Then I stood up slowly and said, Come on, boy. Let's go inside. Frank took a small step forward. His legs trembled a little, but he trusted me enough to follow. I guided him gently through the yard and into the house. I made sure he had water and a cozy blanket in a quiet corner. As I watched Frank settle down, I felt a warm feeling inside. This was just the beginning. He was scared, but he was also starting to hope. I knew it would take time, but I wasn't going to give up on him. Later, I told my mom and dad what I did. They looked surprised but proud. My mom said, You're very brave, Sam. You are helping Frank more than you know. I nodded. I knew I couldn't fix everything in one day, but I could make a small difference. I looked at Frank resting peacefully. I promised myself I would be patient. I would keep helping him heal. That day I learned something important. Even a little act of kindness can start a big change. Frank was hurting, but I believed he could get better. And I was going to do everything I could to help him, because I knew, deep down, that everyone deserves a second chance, even a scared, broken dog like Frank. I woke up early in the morning. The sun was shining softly through the window. I was excited because today I wanted to spend more time with Frank. Last night, I had left some food outside for him. I wondered if he had come to eat it. I put on my sneakers and ran outside. The backyard was quiet. I looked around carefully. I saw Frank sitting behind the fence. He looked at me with his big, sad eyes. His body was still covered with scars, and some of his fur looked torn. But I noticed something new. His tail moved a tiny bit when he saw me. That made me smile. I went closer slowly. I didn't want to scare him. I sat down on the grass and gently called, Frank, it's okay. I brought you more food. I put a bowl of water and some dog food on the ground near him. I stayed quiet, waiting to see what he would do. Frank hesitated. He looked at the food, then at me. Then, very slowly, he moved closer. I reached out my hand very carefully so he could sniff it. He sniffed my hand. I could see him think. Then, he finally took a small step forward and ate the food from the bowl. I felt happy. Frank was still scared, but he was trying. I told him softly, Good boy, Frank. You're safe with me. I wanted to help him feel safe and loved. After a while, Frank moved closer and sat down just a little way from me. He looked at me with sad eyes. I knew he had been hurt so much before. I wanted him to know I was here to help, not to hurt him. I remembered what I had learned from my mom and dad. Sometimes, animals like Frank are hurt because people do mean things to them. I didn't understand why anyone would do that, but I knew I wanted to help Frank forget that pain. I took a deep breath and looked around. Everything was so still and quiet. I thought about what I could do next. Maybe I could bring Frank some toys or a blanket. Maybe I could talk softly to him every day. I wanted him to trust me more. I believed that with patience, he could get better. Just then, I saw my mom come outside. She looked worried. She was holding her hands together and looking at me and Frank. "Sam," she said softly, "are you sure it's safe? Frank is still very scared. You shouldn't get too close yet." I looked at her and nodded. "I know, Mom. I just want to help him. I want him to know he's safe now." She smiled a little and sat down beside me. "You have a good heart, Sam. Just remember, animals like Frank need time. They've been hurt a lot. We have to be patient." I nodded again. I understood. I wanted to help Frank trust people again. I knew it wouldn't happen overnight, but I was ready to try it every day. As I sat there with Frank, I thought of something special. Maybe one day soon, Frank would run and play with me. Maybe he would forget all his pain. I knew it would take time, but I was ready to wait. Today, I learned that even the most scared animals can start to trust again if someone cares. I also learned that being patient and kind is the best way to help someone heal. I looked at Frank one more time. His eyes looked a little softer now. I whispered, "We'll be friends, Frank. I promise." And I knew deep inside that I would do everything I could to help him feel safe again. I looked at Frank from my usual hiding spot behind the fence. It was quiet outside, but I could see him in the backyard. His body was small and skinny. His fur was rough and dirty. He had big scars on his face and legs. His eyes looked sad and scared. I could see he was hurt inside too. Frank was hiding behind some bushes. He didn't move when I came closer. I sat down quietly and held out a piece of bread. I wanted him to see I was friendly. "Here, Frank," I whispered softly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." He sniffed the bread carefully. His nose twitched. Then he slowly moved forward and took the bread from my hand. His tail twitched a little. I saw his eyes flicker with hope. I felt happy inside. Maybe he was starting to trust me. But I knew he was still scared. His body was tense. His scars told stories of pain. I wondered what had happened to him before. Why was he all alone and hurt? Suddenly I heard my mom call my name from the house. "Sam, come inside now," she said, sounding worried. I looked back at Frank. I wanted to stay longer, but I knew I had to listen to my mom. "I'll be back soon, Frank," I said softly. "Don't worry, I'll help you. Just wait here for me." I stood up and waved goodbye. Frank watched me with tired eyes. I hoped he understood I wanted to help him, that I cared. As I walked inside, I thought about Frank's scars. I wondered who hurt him. Was it someone in our town? Was it someone I knew? My stomach felt tight with questions. I didn't want Frank to be hurt anymore. I wanted to do something to make him safe. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Frank. I wanted to help him get better. I knew it would take time. I knew he would need patience and kindness. But I also knew I couldn't give up. The next morning, I went outside early. I took a small bowl of water and some more bread. I wanted to see if Frank was still there. I looked behind the bushes. There he was, sitting very still. His eyes looked at me cautiously. I sat down quietly again. I didn't want to scare him. I held out the water and bread. "Here, Frank," I said softly. "It's okay. I brought you some more." This time, Frank came a little closer. He sniffed the water and licked the bread. I smiled. I could see his body relax a little. Maybe, just maybe, I was helping him feel safe. Over the next few days, I kept coming to see Frank. I brought him food, water, and gentle words. With each day, he trusted me a little more. Sometimes, he watched me carefully, but he didn't run away. I could see his tail wagging a tiny bit. One afternoon, I sat with him in the shade of a big tree. I reached out my hand slowly. I wanted to pet him. "It's okay, Frank," I said softly. "You're safe with me." He looked at my hand and then at me. Very carefully, he moved closer and sniffed my fingers. Then he nudged my hand with his nose. I felt happy inside. It was a small step, but a big one for Frank. I knew he still carried a lot of pain from the past. His scars told stories of cruelty, of people who hurt him. But now, I saw a little spark of trust in his eyes. Maybe, just maybe, Frank could start to heal. As I sat there, my parents watched from the window. I saw worry in their eyes. My mom looked at me and whispered to my dad. I think she was worried I would get hurt, or that we shouldn't help Frank. But I didn't care. I knew Frank needed me. I knew kindness mattered. That night, I lay in my bed and thought about Frank. I promised myself I would keep trying. I would be patient. I believed that one day, Frank would forget the pain and remember only love. Every day, I kept going back. I brought food, water, and gentle words. I talked to him softly, telling him he was safe now. I wanted him to know he was loved. I wanted to help him forget the hurt. Frank still had scars and fears, but something inside him was changing. His trust was slowly growing. I could see it in his eyes. It made me hope that he could become happy again. I knew the road would be long, but I also knew that love and patience could heal even the deepest wounds. And I was going to do everything I could to help Frank find his way back to happiness. Because no matter what, kindness can make a difference. And I was going to keep trying, one step at a time. I woke up early that morning. The sun was shining softly, and I could hear birds singing outside. I looked over at Frank. He was sleeping peacefully on his bed in the corner of the room. For a moment, I just watched him. I felt happy because he was starting to trust me more. But I also knew he still carried many wounds inside and out. Since I started helping Frank, I had learned a lot. I learned that trust takes time. It's like a tiny seed that needs patience and care. Frank still had scars from a very bad past, but little by little, he was healing. His eyes weren't as scared as before. When I came near, sometimes he would wag his tail a tiny bit or move closer. That made me smile. I got up quietly and went to sit next to him. I reached out my hand slowly so he wouldn't get scared. I softly said, "Good morning, Frank." He opened his eyes and looked at me. I could see the faint hope in his gaze. It was like a small light trying to shine through all the darkness he had been through. Suddenly, I heard my mom calling from the kitchen. "Sam, come eat breakfast." I stood up quickly and looked back at Frank. I wanted to stay with him, but I knew I had to eat too. "I'll come in a minute," I called back. Before I left the room, I gently stroked Frank's head. "We're going to get better together," I whispered. I knew I had to be patient, just like I promised Frank. Later, I took Frank outside. The sun was warm on his fur. I let him walk around the yard. I watched as he sniffed the grass and looked around carefully. His tail moved a little more now. Not just a tiny wag, but a small sign of happiness. I was happy too. I could see the change happening little by little. My parents were in the other room. They looked worried, but also hopeful. I knew they cared, even if they didn't always say it out loud. Sometimes they looked away when I asked questions about Frank's past. I wanted to know what had really happened to him, but I also knew it was something they didn't want to talk about yet. That day, I decided I would be patient. I would keep caring for Frank, no matter what. I believed he could trust again. I believed we could all get through this together. That afternoon, I sat on the porch with Frank. I rubbed his soft fur and talked to him gently. "You're not alone anymore, Frank," I said. "We're friends now, and friends help each other." Frank looked up at me, his eyes brightening just a little. I saw the tiniest smile on his face. It was like a small flower blooming after a long rain. I knew Frank still had a lot of pain, but I also knew that kindness could help heal the worst wounds. As the day went on, I remembered what my dad had said once. He told me that everyone has a story, and sometimes they hide their pain because they're afraid or ashamed. But I also knew that trust was a gift, and I was going to keep giving that gift to Frank, bit by bit. That night, Frank curled up in his bed. I sat nearby and watched him sleep. I felt proud of how far he had come. It was just the beginning, I knew. But every step forward counted. I closed my eyes for a moment and thought, maybe someday Frank will forget all his hurt. Maybe he will run and play like other dogs. I smiled. I knew we still had a lot to do, but I also knew that love and patience could make a big difference. And so I promised myself I would never give up on him. I would be there every step of the way, because I believed that even the most broken hearts can heal with kindness. And Frank's brave, quiet trust was the best gift I could ever ask for. I wake up early in the morning. The sun is just rising. I look out the window and see Frank lying on his blanket. He is sleeping peacefully. He looks calmer now. His body is still scarred, but his eyes are soft. I feel happy. I walk quietly into the room and sit next to him. I gently pet his head. "Good morning, Frank," I say softly. He lifts his head and looks at me with big, kind eyes. I smile. I know we're getting better together. Today is a special day. I want to do more to help Frank feel safe. I remember what the vet said yesterday. Frank needs time and gentle care. I want to show him he can trust us. I go outside to get his favorite toy. It's a small green ball. I throw it gently across the yard. Frank's nose twitches. He hears the ball bounce and sniffs at it. Then, very slowly, he gets up. He walks over and nudges the ball with his nose. He pushes it back to me. I laugh softly. I pick up the ball and throw it again. Frank runs after it. He picks it up in his mouth and brings it back, his tail wagging a little now. I feel proud. Frank is starting to believe that good things can happen, that people can be kind. I kneel down and stroke his fur. "You're doing so good, Frank," I say. "Trust takes time, but I'll be here." My parents come outside. They watch us from the porch. My mom smiles and whispers to my dad. I see her nodding. I know they are happy too. They are starting to see that kindness can make a difference. Later, I sit on the grass with Frank. I hold a small treat in my hand. I offer it to him. "You're a brave dog," I say softly. Frank sniffs the treat. Then he takes it gently from my hand. His tongue flicks out and he licks my fingers. That makes me feel warm inside. I realize Frank is learning to trust again. I also realize that I am learning something very important. Sometimes, being patient and kind is the only way to help someone heal. Frank lays down beside me. He presses his head against my knee. I stay very still. I want him to know he is safe here. I want him to feel loved. The day passes slowly. We play, rest, and I talk to Frank. I tell him stories about the park and the friends I have. I tell him that soon he will have a new family that will love him forever. As the sun begins to set, I help Frank back to his blanket. I wipe the sweat from my forehead and look at him. His eyes are peaceful now. They are not haunted anymore. I walk inside with my parents. I feel tired but happy. I know we are making progress. Frank is healing, and so are we. I sit on the couch and think about everything. I know that trust is fragile. It takes time to rebuild. But I also know that kindness is stronger than fear. It can change everything. I look at my family and my new friend Frank. I realize that sometimes the smallest act of love can make the biggest difference. It can turn scars into stories of hope. It can change a broken heart into one that's full of trust. And I promise myself, I will keep being kind and brave. For Frank, for my family, and for anyone who needs a little hope. Tomorrow is another day, and I will be here, helping Frank to feel happy again. Because I believe that love and patience can heal even the deepest wounds. I woke up early that morning. The sun was shining gently through the window. I looked outside and saw the yard. Frank was lying on the grass. He was resting, his eyes half closed. I felt happy, but also nervous. I knew we had to do something important today. I tiptoed downstairs quietly. My parents were in the kitchen. My mom was making breakfast, and my dad was reading the newspaper. I ran over to them. "Can I go see Frank now?" I asked softly. My mom looked worried. "Sam, be careful. He's still scared," she said. I know, I answered, but I want to help him. I want to see how he's doing. My dad nodded slowly. Okay, but stay close and don't rush him. I smiled and ran outside. I tiptoed toward the yard. Frank heard me and looked up. His ears twitched. I went slowly, holding out some food. It was a small piece of bread. Frank hesitated. He looked at me with his big, haunted eyes. He didn't move at first. Then, very slowly, he sniffed the air. When he saw I was safe, he took a tiny step closer. I sat down on the grass. "It's okay, Frank," I said softly. "I brought you breakfast." He looked at the bread, then at me again. His tail moved just a little. It was a small wag, but I saw it. I knew he was starting to trust me more. "Good boy," I whispered. Frank ate the bread carefully. When he finished, he looked up at me again. I reached out my hand. Slowly, he sniffed my fingers. Then, he gently nudged my hand with his nose. I felt happy inside. Frank was still scared, but he was trying. I knew it would take time, but I wanted to help him heal. Suddenly, I remembered something. I wanted to tell my parents about Frank's scars. I ran back inside. "Mom, Dad, I want to show you something," I said quickly. They looked at me with curious eyes. I led them outside to Frank. "Look at him," I said. "He's been hurt before. I think someone hurt him really badly." My mom looked worried. "Sam, are you sure? Sometimes it's better not to get involved." "But I want to help," I said firmly. "He needs us." My dad put his hand on my shoulder. "You're right. We should do the right thing." Later that day, I watched Frank rest in the yard. He was still cautious, but he was beginning to trust me. I sat quietly next to him, feeling hopeful. I knew that Frank's scars were more than just on his skin. They were in his heart. But with patience and kindness, I believed we could help him heal both inside and out. That night, I went to bed thinking about Frank. I dreamed of a day when he would run and play without fear. I knew it would take time, but I was ready to stay by his side until he was strong again. And I thought about my parents too. Maybe they needed to see that kindness could make a difference. Maybe they could learn to face what was wrong and make it right. Tomorrow was a new day, and I was determined to do everything I could to help Frank. Because everyone deserves to feel safe and loved, even a little dog with big scars. That was the start of something important, and I couldn't wait to see what would happen next. The story goes on, and I knew that with patience and love, we could turn everything around. Frank was more than a broken dog. He was a symbol of hope, and I was just a boy who believed in doing what's right. I sit on the soft carpet in the living room, watching Frank sleep peacefully in his corner. His body is still a little stiff from all he has been through, but I can see that he is starting to relax. His scars are still there, but they don't seem so big anymore. His eyes are calmer than before. I smile because I know he's healing. Bit by bit, it's almost noon. The sunlight comes through the window and makes little spots of light on Frank's fur. I gently stroke his head and whisper, "Good boy, Frank. You're getting better." He opens one eye slowly and looks at me. I see gratitude there, just a little. I feel happy and proud. Now I think about what we've done so far. Frank is no longer a scared dog hiding all the time. He trusts me a little more every day. I know it's because I never gave up on him. I always showed him kindness and patience. That's why I believe he will be okay. Maybe someday he will forget the pain he once knew. I stand up and look around the house. Every corner, every toy feels a little warmer now that Frank is here. I walk to my mom and dad. They are sitting on the couch, talking softly. "Mom, Dad," I say quietly, "Frank is sleeping now. I think he feels safe here." My mom looks at me and smiles softly. "You did a good job, honey. You're very brave." My dad nods. "We should check on him soon. I think he's becoming part of our family." I feel happy when I hear that. I've been working so hard to help Frank trust us. Now I see that he's starting to trust us back. I want him to know that he is safe here forever. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. I run to the door and open it. Standing outside are Mr. and Mrs. Lee, the neighbors. They look worried. "Sam," Mrs. Lee says gently, We wanted to see how Frank is doing. I think he's better, I answer. He's sleeping now, and he's starting to trust us. Mr. Lee sighs. That's good to hear. We're glad you're helping him. He's been hurt so badly. I nod. I want to help him heal. I want him to be happy again. Mrs. Lee smiles kindly. You have a big heart, Sam. That's very brave of you. I feel warm inside. I know Frank still has a long way to go, but I believe he can get there. I want to do everything I can to help him. Later that afternoon, I sit next to Frank again. I softly call him. Frank, do you want to go outside? Maybe we can walk in the yard. He lifts his head and wags his tail a tiny bit. That makes me happy. I gently pet him and help him stand up. As we step outside, I notice how quiet and peaceful everything is. The birds are singing, and the breeze feels nice. Frank walks slowly at first, but then he starts to explore a little. He sniffs the grass and looks around. He seems curious, like he's starting to remember how good it can feel to be outside again. I kneel down beside him. You're doing so well, Frank. I'm proud of you. He looks at me with soft eyes. I see that he trusts me more now than ever before. I know it's because I've been patient and kind. I realize that helping someone heal takes time. Sometimes it's small steps that make the biggest difference. That evening, my family and I sit at the dinner table. Everyone is smiling, and I tell them about Frank's day. He's starting to feel better, I say excitedly. He's wagging his tail and he wants to go outside. I think he's happy here. My mom and dad look at each other and nod. You've done something very special, Sam. My mom says, you showed love and patience. That's what Frank needed. My dad puts his hand on my shoulder. And we need to remember that everyone can change, even animals, even people who are hurt inside. I feel warm again. I know we are all learning something very important, that kindness and truth can help fix even the deepest wounds. As I lie in my bed that night, I think about Frank. I close my eyes and see his gentle face. I know that he's starting a new life, one filled with hope. And I promise myself that I will always try to be kind and brave, because I know that sometimes all it takes is a little love and patience to change the world. I wake up early in the morning. The house is quiet. The sun shines through the window. I feel happy but a little nervous. Today is a special day. It is the last day of our story about Frank and me. Frank is sleeping in his bed. His fur is soft now. His scars are still there, but they look different. They are stories of hurt, but now they also show how much he has healed. I walk over to him slowly. He opens his eyes and looks at me. His tail wags just a little. I kneel down and pet him softly. Good morning, Frank, I say quietly. Are you ready for today? Frank makes a soft sound. I think he is saying yes. I run outside to find Mom and Dad. Today we are going to take a new family picture. But this picture is different. It is a picture of honesty and love. We wanted to show the real us, happy and proud, not hiding any secrets. Mom is in the kitchen. She is packing sandwiches for our picnic. Dad is sitting at the table, reading a paper. I run over to them. Can we do the picture now? I ask. The real one? The happy, honest one? Mom looks at me with a small smile. Yes, Sam. Today is a good day for that. Dad nods. It's time to show the world our true feelings. I feel a little nervous, but also excited. Today is the day we are going to be brave. We all put on our best clothes. We go outside to the park. The grass is green and the sky is blue. Frank walks beside me. He looks happy and calm. His tail is wagging more now. He trusts us more each day. We find a spot under a big tree. The sunlight makes everything look warm and bright. Mom takes out her phone. She is going to take our picture. But before she does, we all stand together. I look at Frank and smile. I remember how much he has been through, how he was hurt and scared, but now he is happy and safe with us. I feel proud of him. Say cheese, Mom calls out. We all pose. I put my arm gently around Frank. He leans into me. His eyes are bright, full of trust. Mom clicks the button. The picture is taken. When we look at it, I see a happy family, a boy, a dog, and parents who are trying to do what is right. Frank is in the middle. He looks like he belongs with us. After the picture, I sit down on the grass with Frank. I look at the sky and think about everything that has happened. I remember how Frank was hurt, how he didn't trust anyone, and how he started to trust me. I think about Mom and Dad. They were afraid to face the truth, but now they are brave. They are saying sorry and trying to do better. Frank snuggled next to me. I feel warm inside. I know that kindness and truth are powerful. They can help heal a broken heart or a scarred body. I want everyone to know this story, about how a small boy's love can change everything, about how honesty and courage can fix even the deepest wounds. As the day turns into evening, we pack up our things. Frank hops into the car, ready to go to his new home. A family that will love him forever. I wave goodbye to him, feeling happy and a little sad at the same time. I know Frank's story isn't just about him. It's about all of us. It's about being brave, honest, and kind. It's about not giving up when things seem dark. That is the end of our story, but the lessons stay with us. Always remember, love and truth can make the world a better place. And I will never forget Frank, the dog who taught me that even the smallest act of kindness can change everything.